I founded Oval Room Group after about a 13-year career in commercial real estate and prop tech. I had a commercial real estate consulting firm. We opened about 30 offices across the U.S. Over a 6-year period. Very fortunately, we sold all of those locations back to local management groups Jan 1 of 2020. So a good time to get out of that commercial real estate consulting world. And I started Oval Room Group really with the goal of solving two main problems that I had seen in the CRE world. Number one, and I say this with the utmost respect to everyone on this call, a handful of familiar faces. Traditionally, commercial real estate professionals do not have a great understanding of media, tech, and software. It's just not their wheelhouse. It's not what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and it's not traditionally what is making you money. On the other side of the fence, the media, tech, and kind of creative folks, they know nothing about commercial real estate. So when you start talking about cap rates and triple net leases and STNL developments and all of the 400 acronyms you have to know in order to speak commercial real estate, it really becomes a very disjointed, disparate process, and you literally are speaking different languages. The approach that we wanted to take and problem we wanted to solve was to say, hey, we've got 50 years of commercial real estate experience on our team. We've also got 25 plus years of visual and tech experience on our team. How can we kind of talk the talk and walk the walk on both sides of the fence, quarterbacking that entire process from start to finish and allowing brokers, developers, investors to focus on deal making, and allowing the media and tech folks to be the creative element of what they need to do while we manage the process from the inside out. So that was problem number one. Problem number two is a little bit more of a national and asset type based problem, where if you've got a portfolio of properties or you have listings that are in a multitude of different areas or different asset types, the ability to kind of work through that entire commercial real estate cycle, which I'll kind of show here. You're hiring 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different vendors in order to accomplish what it is that you need. And oh, by the way, half of those vendors probably don't know anything about commercial real estate. So you're kind of right back to problem number one. So what we wanted to be able to do was bring the entirety of the property life cycle under one roof. We work with both owner, developer, investors, and then of course we work a tremendous amount with with our brokerage partners across the country. So that ability to have the real estate knowledge, as well as be able to say any asset type, anywhere in the country, any service you need, but maybe most importantly, at any phase of the real estate cycle, you can come to one group and get everything that you need, rather than, again, this very kind of bifurcated, I got to go out and find 7 different companies to do 7 different things. So to date, we've worked on over a 500 million square feet of commercial real estate projects in pretty much every asset type. That starts with early on kind of site selection, concept and planning, zoning and approvals, all the way through design and development phases, and then of course sale, lease, or repositioning of properties. So earlier on, obviously, we're kind of working with those owner developers, and then as we move down towards kind of step 4 here of that sale, lease, reposition, that's when we're going to start working more so with the brokerage teams to go out and take those properties to market. We did just complete, as kind of Oval Room Group, I build out a massive research and analytics project to kind of what we're designating as the DNA of the commercial real estate market. And I pulled some cherry picked statistics here in regards to kind of visuals and media and marketing spend, just to kind of set this conversation up. The average marketing spend per market on property is just under $1,400. Now, some of you may be looking and saying, boy, that's a lot to spend. And others may be looking and saying, that's nothing. I think it all depends on asset type. Is it for sale or for lease? What's the potential, obviously ROI, metric for the broker? But we have solutions that are as little as a couple $100 all the way up to several $1,000s, depending upon what your asset type is, what you're trying to do with the property. We kind of use the analogy of Honda, Cadillac, Ferrari. Sometimes you just need that Honda that's going to get you there every time. It's very reliable. No one's turning their head on the street, though. Other times you need a little more power, a little more speed, and to kind of make a little bit more of a splash with your marketing opportunity. Another element that I found, pretty interesting is 40% of properties that are on market have at least 4 different media elements, which again kind of harkens back to my initial comment of you're hiring 4, 5, 6, 7 different vendors to go to market. So if those 4 media elements are a rendering, a brochure or OM, a site plan, and then photography, well, you're hiring a render artist, you're hiring a graphic designer, you're hiring, a drone pilot, a photographer, any type of, visual tool that you need, you tend to hire a different person for each one. So by bringing it all under one roof, that's really where Oval Ring Group has excelled and succeeded, and again, working on so many different properties across the country. And then the final one, I think this was really driven by COVID initially. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Matterport virtual tours, which is a very common residential tool. Not always the best option when you're looking at a 100,000 square foot warehouse. You don't necessarily need to walk every 5 feet. You just see column, dock door over and over again. But 37% of properties are presented virtually for top of funnel engagement, especially when you're looking to reach out of town buyers or clients. And we've got a couple different tools that allow you to present properties virtually and really tell kind of the macro to micro story of the submarket, the area, the office park, the building, the suite. We kind of move down that funnel to make sure we're getting everything that the client or prospective tenant or buyer would need to know. So some interesting stats there. We've got a lot more, a full report, and happy to share that with with this group as well, because it's a pretty in-depth and robust report that we did on the DNA of the CRE market. 4 topics that I really wanted to cover today in regards to how we can kind of get, again, beyond just the brick and mortar of traditional marketing for real estate. And again, a little bit of a funnel here. So talking about kind of the top of funnel opportunities, how can we unlock funding opportunities? How can we raise debt and equity? One of the things that we've been very successful with is what we call an aerial 360 map and rendering. So again, when we're looking to present properties virtually, this is a really great tool to do so. We've got a nice little how-to guide here on the left-hand side. I'll clear that out. It's pretty easy to navigate. But, drone is obviously a pretty common tool. I think we're actually seeing over 60% of properties. Another little stat from our DNA, market research program was that over 60% of properties are using drone footage. I think most people do it in a bit of an elementary way of just snapping a picture and then saying, highway is this way or airport is that way, or, maybe tagging a couple little retailers in the area, whatever it may be. This aerial map is a full 360-degree environment. So we can look up, down, left, right, see every element and every detail of this entire potential development. So these buildings that you see in the background, those exist. That's actual property. But everything you're seeing in the foreground here that we have labeled, this is all rendered. So none of this actually exists. And we're able to create from extreme back of napkin and kind of, the developer's mind's eye of this is what we want to do with this property. So, Brian, you may recognize this property from some of the SEC meetings that been passed around. But this type of environment, again, is meant to really highlight and showcase the macro to the micro. Let's talk about where we sit. Okay, Wilmer, Texas, 5-minute drive, 1.8 miles. As we continue to turn in this direction here, we're showcasing that across the street, we've got a rail stockyard. Interstate 45 is right here. Average daily traffic counts. We can drop all of that type of information in. So not only are we visually representing what is going to be developed, we are also showcasing kind of that why behind why is this a good opportunity? What's in the area? What is the 1, 3, and 5 mile demos? All that type of information. You can see in the background here, Dallas, Texas. We can click on that, see that it's 18 minutes away, 15 miles. And then see all of the surrounding area as well, of course. So that's kind of the macro. What's in the area, traffic counts, drive times, all that important information that people need to know. Now let's talk about the development itself. This development has gone through, I believe, at least 4 or 5 different iterations of what it could be and would be. But everything you see here is a clickable and interactive tool. So when we see retail and restaurant, again, if this was a still drone image, it just said retail outlot, it doesn't provide a whole lot of information. You're not really facilitating that attention, that interest, that action from the client or prospective tenant. With us, you can click in here and say, okay, this is a QSR space. It's 3,100 feet. It's got 28 parking spots, and it's got highway visibility. We can turn in this direction over here and see that we've got a couple hotels planned. Well, just by looking at what those hotels are, I'm sure most of you can say that looks like a Fairfield Inn and Suites. That's what it's intended to be. Now, if this developer takes this to Marriott and they say, nope, that's not for us, we can say, okay, great. We're going to go to Clarion, or we're going to go to Best Western, or we're going to go to whomever else, and we can literally, in a matter of a few changes in a few hours, we can tweak what this design looks like and make it look like that Best Western, or make it look like the Clarion, or whatever it may be. So we're really able to get very specific and then iterate upon those specifics within this environment. So this idea of, most people are getting some sort of visual or media tool, and then they use it for that instance in that moment in time, and then they scrap it and need to redo it in order to go to the next iteration or the next prospective tenant or whatever it may be. We move and iterate with you as a broker, as an owner developer, whatever your role in the transaction is. We can customize this tool to your needs. The other great thing about this is you'll see we have the ability to move around the development. So back here, you can see we've got MOB and a hospital. We can click on what we call a portal pin. And with a click of a button, we were just hovering right over here. Now we can actually see this MOB. Again, pretty standard medical office building. We can count parking ratios and all that fun stuff. These are clickable tools that we can put any information behind that we want. As we turn in this direction, I'll try and do it slowly so I don't give anyone nausea while I'm turning. Now we're seeing the hospital that's fully developed. There's no architectural involvement in this. We are taking this just from back of napkin. So really the ability to accelerate equity raise. Hey, this is what you're investing in. Really an ability to accelerate zoning and municipal planning meetings. We can take this to a zoning council and say, this is what it's going to be, rather than just some 2D elevations from an architect that don't tell the whole story. I think the largest fund we've been able to help raise thus far is about $350 million, but we can also work on projects that we're just, going out looking to raise, a couple $100,000 for, a single development or a single acquisition. This tool can be used both in the render world as well as in existing product world. And we have, again, the ability to move over to different areas of the development via these portal pins. So we click on kind of the far southwest as we look at, what would be true north. We can see our retail, we can see our grocery, again, ingress, egress, some additional, retail lots here, and get more of a high level overview of the entire development. Most of the time, and if there's any architects on the call, I'm not looking to knock architectural work. It's obviously a core piece of the process, but most of the time, architectural renderings are going to be somewhere in that $5,000 or $6,000 range. You're going to be looking at, 4 to 6 week turnaround times. And then if there are changes or tweaks needed, the level of precisions that architects have to take with their liability elements is a long time and an expensive process. With us, we can do renderings of this nature for as little as about $1,200, and we can usually turn these around in about 2 to 3 weeks. So our ability to move quickly, work without those delays. So if you put, if you've got a piece of land under contract, you want to do some due diligence, make sure you can go out and raise your dollars. We can do this and reduce or kind of, contract that hold period and those carry costs that you may have as an owner developer. From the brokerage side of things, talk about pre-leasing or pre-sales, the ability to say, hey, this development is coming. It's got the dollars behind it. It's got the zoning approvals that it needs. We're 12 months, 16 months, 18 months out. To be able to go and take this type of visual and sell or lease to Chick-fil-A for this QSR space is one whole heck of a lot easier than what you're traditionally going to get, when working through the architectural rendering or just a brochure with an open, parcel on it. So this is a core, proprietary tool of ours. We call this views.ovalroom group, but it is 360 imagery with rendering included into it. Again, we would call this an aerial 360 render. So that's a great tool for, as we look to unlock funding opportunities. How do we show potential investors what this could be or would be? The next item is, win more listings. And I think, the entirety of this presentation is really focused on how do you not only, sell, lease, or transact your current listing, but how do you go out and win more listings? Because inevitably, the next time you're sitting in front of a potential client and they say, well, what did you do the last time that you needed to lease 70,000 square feet of industrial? Well, you have the ability to now go out and showcase what you've done on previous listings and show that you're doing a lot more than the traditional. And I think we all know in the commercial real estate climate that we're in, the idea of snapping a couple of photos, throwing it up on LoopNet is just not getting the deal done, especially in the office market, but also now in industrial and retail. So this is, again, same concept, aerial 360 map. Because my team is trained and well-versed in commercial real estate, we are doing a lot of this research for you. So as we turn and say, okay, George Bush International, we know that airport proximity is extremely important for industrial. Retail probably doesn't specifically matter. Office, also not a major factor. So we're going to talk about different things and input different statistics and KPIs based on what the asset type is. Are we selling it? Are we leasing it? Kind of all of those factors coming into play. So same concept here. We can move in full 360 degrees. We're showing the existing building, proximity to rail yards, proximity to interstates, ports, all those things that are important for industrial. We can go direct to port websites and understand volume and capacity items. And as we look over here, now we're back, back here on 45, not too far away from the last development that we showed, just over in Houston. So this tool, then the micro element, this interactive tool allows us to say, well, who's viewing this and how many times has this been viewed? So this particular property has been viewed 326 times. We can provide information such as, oh, we did a LoopNet listing, we did a LinkedIn post, we did an email blast. Who's clicking on it from where? When they come into this environment, what are they clicking on? Are they looking at the airport? Are they dropping into building information and core stats? So brochures that can obviously be created via build out or be a little bit more customized with our graphic design team, all embedded in one place. We have 2 additional pieces of media here. So by the time we're done with this entire environment that we've created, you're looking at probably 8 different vendors that would have needed to be hired in order to accomplish this. So the one other thing I'll show you here is what we call our property marketing video. I'll make this full screen. So this was Mapletree as a client of ours, Lee & Associates as a client of ours. This type of tool is excellent for the the visual buyers who just kind of want to sit back and listen and learn. So we're doing animated mapping here. Again, macro to micro, showing where does this sit in the area? What are our drive times? What cities can we reach within, our 2, 4, 6, 8 hour drive times? Who are the other major tenants in the area that we want to call out? And then we drop down to a little bit more of the micro here and start to talk about this particular business park and this particular building. So this is all something that we can create as a Google certified partner. And then we create the remainder of the video with drone and imagery from both interior and exterior. So for this video, you need someone who can handle animated mapping. You need a graphic designer. You need a drone pilot. You need a photographer. We actually also have some 360 photography in here that you'll see. So this video alone would be 5 different vendors that you would need to hire in order to accomplish this. We have the ability to do this all under one roof. Volume discounts, reduction in timelines, and again, that commercial real estate knowledge that we present. This is really allowing people to get an understanding of the property. Again, macro to micro, I overuse that term, but that's really the approach that we take. How do we tell the whole story of a property? And that's key for any lease or sale opportunity. Then the final piece that we have here, I mentioned virtual tours and that DNA statistics portion. Again, you don't need to walk every 5 or 8 feet in an industrial, facility. You just need to see the core items. So we can click down and kind of see our parking, our auto parking, our manned entryway. We can walk into the office area here and kind of see some of what the office area looks like. And then, full 360-degree integration. And then if we just say, hey, I just need to go check the loading dock area and see what these dock doors look like, we can click on our thumbs, which is kind of our guide page down here, and see condition. Do we have dock levelers? Where's their drive-in doors here? We can denote clear heights, column spacing, all that fun stuff that we put into play on the building information tab on the outside of the building. That can all be identified here. If there were to be, CapEx dollars, put into this property, we could of course render what that's going to look like. So again, that mix of reality versus virtual reality. This is how we're starting to tell the complete story of these properties. And then click of a button, we return back to this aerial view here. So, again, that is really a tremendous way to not only market properties, but when you're going up against the 3 other guys who are putting in their BOVs or pitches to this ownership group, to a Maple Tree or otherwise, and they say, well, what did you do the last time you marketed 70,000 feet? One guy's going to show a couple pictures, another guy's going to show a Google Earth image, another guy's going to show maybe a drone video circling around the building that doesn't tell you anything, is completely inconsequential. And then you can say, here's what I did on my last property, and you're going to blow them out of the water. And again, these are hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars in spend, not tens of thousands and not months of work. We know if you have an exclusive listing agreement, we need to take as little of your time as possible within that ELA to make sure you can go to market with the right materials. Building your personal brand. I came from way back when, the residential world, and it became a big push 15, 18 years ago amongst residential real estate agents to kind of have their own personal brand. Over 30% of agents within residential are now on teams, and they kind of have their own branded team. We're starting to see that move, kind of more based on asset type than anything else. But how do you build a brand that kind of showcases, again, who you are, what your experience is, and what you've accomplished? So one of our big partnerships is with SVN. So this is an interactive presentation. Rather than just creating a PDF and sending it over, which is what every other broker does, this is something that we created that's an interactive tool for SVN and their tenant rep team. Traditionally, we don't do a lot of work with tenant rep because they don't have a property to showcase or highlight, but we do have the ability to build these type of tools for brokerages, for teams, that is going to give you that, again, Honda, Cadillac, Ferrari, give you a little bit more of that wow factor. So you can see great interactivity, is drawing the eye, creating videos, of how these things work. We can do, we'll mute that or pause that. We can do, these whiteboard type videos to kind of give you some exposure and, again, a little bit of differentiation, but really a great tool to talk about. When you put a BOV out and everyone else puts a BOV out, why are you getting selected? And how are you building a brand that people can become synonymous with the top and the elite? And we're not just looking at, I'm not going to go after that property because, it's a big property and CBRE is going to get it. We can help you compete with the large brokerages that reduce costs and really bring, even elevated materials from what the largest brokerages in the world are creating at this point in time. I'll share this presentation when we're done, so everyone can kind of feel free to scroll through here and kind of use this interactivity on their own. But this is just one example of kind of how are we creating tools to build your own personal brand, whether that's via landing pages and websites, whether that's project and listing and successful deal documentation, this type of more introductory slide and profile. I will say we did not take these headshots; those were provided to us. We got a couple blurry ones in there, but that really is another great tool of building your own brand, so you become synonymous with successful commercial real estate transactions. And then the final item I'll show you here is how we can revolutionize your client presentations. This is another tool that we've created for a new development, really taking multimedia to the next level. So this is videography, this is stock, this is lifestyle. But then we're also, integrating, well, what is the block at Phipps, which is a project we were working on down in Atlanta, 50,000 square feet of flagship retail, in Buckhead, obviously an affluent area right outside of Atlanta, giving you, high level overview. Again, it's not just take a picture with a drone and then, start to paste some logos on it. How do we give you the full integration of all these different media types, aerial 360, tools that we have here? You can control it on your own. It can be a press play video. Obviously, we can call out anything in the surrounding area. From a retail standpoint, we're calling out the other, restaurants and retail in the area, other major users. We've seen these aerial 360s in a couple different scenarios, but again, we're tying it in now to a different piece of media. So, this is going to be a really great tool to go to market with this particular property, and really highlight, who you are, what you're doing, and why this property is so unique. So these types of interactive presentations that we create, not too dissimilar from what I showed you with the SVN tool. These renderings were provided to us. I would have preferred to throw some 360 renderings in there to give them a little bit more, dynamic element. But again, this is what you're traditionally getting from an architect. So I know that this is a ton to digest, and I won't flow through this whole thing because I think it's about 25 total pages. But, how do we help to revolutionize your client presentations to help you go and win business, win future business, go to market, lease and sell more effectively, and then build your own personal brand and kind of elevate who you are and what you provide? I think I kept that pretty close to the 30 minutes. I think I was pretty accurate there. So I know we've got a lot in the chat, and I can dive into those. But Valerie, how do you want me to handle?
Yeah, no, that was fantastic, Alex. Thank you so much. We did have some questions come in, so I mean, right now, if it's cool, I can just go ahead and kind of read some of the questions. I know some of it you had kind of been going over, but maybe just delving a little bit deeper into it. And then we have other questions coming in as well. So we can go ahead and just hop into Q&A.
I think, Alex, if you can stop sharing, I think that'll be better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, while you're grabbing that, Alex, what does your engagement model look like? So what do, if I have a project coming up, or if, let's say I'm going for a, client appointment, and I feel like, I could use your services, what is the first step? What do I need to do?
Yeah, so we try and kind of provide the best of both worlds, if you will. A lot of folks just want to go on and order something online, kind of click to buy. Other folks, especially if it's a larger or more unique project, they want to sit down with an account executive on my team and really dive into the details and explain what your thought process is in the transaction. So I can provide, and again, it's included in this presentation, what we call our visual media solutions platform. It's an e-commerce site. You can go in, I say I need photos, I need drone, I need a rendering. And then we also have the ability to set a time directly with our account executive team, right through that platform as well, to talk through more detail. So the personal touch as well as the easy, e-com experience is available for any client.
And I don't know if I caught it, but is it a subscription product, or is it something you pay when you have something and we have a project? Is it per project, or is it a subscription?
Yeah, great question. There are no subscriptions or ongoing fees. Even the things that we host for you, like virtual tours and aerial mapping, we host on our platform, so you're not paying any monthly, cost, which I think is prohibitive, especially when you're a broker and it's not your property. And everything is a la carte. So we can look at a property, kind of diagnose, hey, we've done 300 of these type of developments. Here's what really worked. Let's put together a few pieces of media and then give you a formal presentation and proposal for that. But it's all a la carte.
Right. Valerie, do you have those questions from the chat?
Yes, I've been kind of keeping them organized and everything. And I know there's been a few kind of popping in about your contact information, your company information. So before we jump into the specifics, if you just want to kind of reiterate that, or if I believe it's Michaela who's here with you today, if she can kind of put that in the chat as well.
Yeah, but we'll also send it out with the replay, and it will be posted to our video portal. So Alex's contact information will be there as well. So Alex, if you're sending us the charts, we'll also include the charts with the replay and also in our portal, so everybody can access it forever, perpetually.
Awesome. Perfect.
So first question, you kind of touched on it, but how are you doing your renderings if you don't have any architects?
Yeah, that's a common question that we get. We understand the massing and modeling world very well. We use two main softwares to do our renderings, Lumion and then 3ds Max. So anyone who's dipped their toe in the architectural world, it's a little bit different than kind of the Revit or SketchUp modeling that architects are traditionally using. So we have the ability to literally visualize what a Fairfield Inn and Suites is going to look like, and take and bring that model into our rendering software, and then size it appropriately and kind of put our dimensionality in there. So it doesn't have to come from a model that's been created by an architect. We're actually bringing in the modeling, massing, and sizing from literally a picture online. So that makes it a lot easier for us to say, hey, here's kind of the traditional dimensions. We can fill that out, and then start to add finishes, based on, hey, do we want to go market this to Chick-fil-A, or should we just make it kind of your traditional brick QSR restaurant that could go Chick-fil-A, Panera, Chipotle, whatever it is that you may be interested in attracting.
Okay. Awesome.
Valerie,
yes.
Can I just piggyback something just because he just brought it up? Is everything drawn to scale, Alex?
100%. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Karen. Next one is, where do you get your information in order to render an image? You kind of just touched on that. Do you work with city planning? And also, does the drive time vary with rush hour versus not rush hour?
Okay, a couple questions there. So let me answer those backwards. In terms of any of the statistics that we provide, we've got a multitude of different resources that we pull from. So we can be as specific as you need, whether it's time of day, specific day. Most of the time, we all know when we're looking at average daily traffic counts, it's whatever day and time is the highest. Let's say that's the average daily traffic count, and drop that in. So on those items, we can be very, very specific and kind of aggregate data from a number of different resources. Sorry, remind me the first question there.
Where do you get your information in order to render an image? Like, do you work with city planning? I mean, you kind of touched on that. It sounds like your team is fantastic, but any outside sources?
Yeah. So we do a lot of zoning presentations. So we will work with our development teams and brokers that are involved, as well as municipalities, and say, okay, let's do some research and understand what our zoning requirements are. We can even look and say, well, here's an open piece of land. I'm not sure what I want to do with it. We'll go and do the zoning research and say, hey, we've got a 25-foot, variance here. So we can't go real tall. If you wanted to do a, 5-story MOB, that's not a great utilization. Maybe we should be looking at 2-story garden style multi, and start to render some inspirational images into the piece of land from there. So we do work with the municipalities to make sure we're meeting their requirements. But again, we can look at an image, and just say, this is kind of what we're going after, and our render artists can design that from scratch. But we do take into consideration those municipality requirements.
Awesome. Next one is, I don't really know this word, but basically it's, how do you tell the difference between the actual structures that is renovated and what is renderings? And Michaela kind of touched on this, but I just want to make sure everyone gets the answer.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm scrolling through to see what Michaela's response was, so I'm not being
It wasn't this exact question, but it was a similar one.
Okay.
So I just mentioned outlines, Alex, on the aerials.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll say I'm happy that this question is being asked, because that means we're doing renderings to a level of detail that are confusing what's real and what's not. That's a good thing. If you can't say, oh, that's clearly just a render. But yeah, a lot of times we can do like opaque overlays and outlines, kind of like you saw on that industrial existing example where we cut the building in half and showed where their parking is. We can do opaque overlays to designate what is actually within the development area comparatively to what exists, and then we can always label buildings if there's any confusion, to say existing building, existing industrial, whatever it may be, and then again kind of outline that area from there.
That's amazing. Thank you. So the next one is, do you choose properties that have utilities still available prior to doing renderings in order to budget? Mike?
I'm not sure if I fully understand.
I'm not quite sure about that one either. I'm guessing, are you adding into your renderings the cost to add in utilities or not add in utilities? That's my guess.
I guess I'll try and maybe answer this in a blanket way. We are able, if it's we do a lot right now in the office world, TI renderings. Hey, we're going to give you, $30 a foot, for a new carpet, new paint, new ceiling tiles, or we're going to really expand that TI allowance and give you 75 a foot, and we're going to redo this office specifically for you. We can match those type of budgets. We know we're not going to do all glass fronted offices, private offices, if we're in that $30 or $40 a foot range, because that glass is really, really expensive. So we can match those budgets, very well. And then in terms of, is a property, does it have the, sewer and gas and all those things in? We would take that into consideration prior to the rendering process, and ask those type of questions. But from like a budget standpoint of what would be developed, that piece does not necessarily go into our budgeting. That kind of non-vertical development, would be a responsibility of the developer. And obviously, we're not showing that underground work.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, that was already answered. I know this was already answered, but I'm going to ask it. Is this an AI tool? Just so everyone gets the answer.
It is not in the truest definition of artificial intelligence. We are working on some AI things in the background, but this is not something where you just type into a box, render me X, Y, and Z, because we're taking so many pieces or so many variables into consideration with our renderings, and the specificity is very, very granular, that AI, you might be able to upload a picture to a certain website for $20 a month or something and say, paint this building white instead of brown. And the AI is there to do that. But in terms of developing and different asset types, the AI, software is just not quite there yet.
Yeah. And that presentation that you had for the clients, that was something that we're sharing with everyone, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
They have an example.
We'll send that out, and just every one of just on the words in the presentation, it's a hyperlink, so you can click those and it'll open up those presentations.
Right. And I think that'll be helpful. I feel like everyone right now, right, is kind of drinking through a fire hose, I mean, it's a new thing, and then there's so many details to it. So I just have like 2 or 3 more questions, and then obviously then we'll just have to connect and do our own research. So
awesome. Yeah, always happy to set up a separate demo and chat through specifics. Perfect.
So that for the interior shots, does the tool provide any measurements for like the interior warehouse dimensions?
We have technology that can do that. We have the ability with our LiDAR scanning technology to create true as-built floor plans. We're doing a 250,000 square foot warehouse building right now, and I think we cut the architect's cost by 30% or something along those lines. So we can create, again, Honda, Cadillac, Ferrari. You just need to know what the column spacing is. We can measure that when we're out there and drop that into the imagery. We can do Matterport tours that you can actually measure in the tool, or we can create full-on as-built floor plans for a property if you don't already have that, that documentation.
That's amazing. Okay. Last one. If a commercial broker is working with a client, would this be somewhat cost prohibitive, or would you suggest the owner be billed?
Great question. Our relationships with brokers often end up as a referral source into that owner developer. And magically, I don't know how it happens, but always a bottle of bourbon shows up on that broker's desk whenever they refer us to an owner or developer. But what we're able to do is then kind of go and work on, a more extensive element of that portfolio. But now we're also providing back to the broker tools for them to go out and market and list. We do also have a lot of scenarios in which the broker, I just got off a call, this morning, where the broker, it's a large tract of land. broker saying, hey, you as owner developer front the costs. When we sell the land, we'll deduct it, from the commission so that we're not outlaying money up front. So we can get creative like that. And then the other element is going to be we can do some sort of split, 50-50 split. And what I tell, and this is no secret, when I tell, an owner that is, it's working with us at the behest of a broker, I always say, well, why do you want the broker to pay for it? No broker bats 1,000. And if Bob, the broker, pays for it and then his ELA runs up and you haven't completed the deal, all your marketing materials just walked out the door with you. Why wouldn't you split the cost so that you still have ownership rights to it? And that usually gets the owner to say, okay, you're right, I'll cover it or I'll split it. So we can get very creative in billing, but we sit in oftentimes as kind of an extension of our broker partner teams, and where they're going to say, here's our exclusive media team, over and by build out, and we get discounted pricing, and you're going to get the best media in the world because you're working with me as the broker, and this is part of the package I bring along.
I just want to quickly add to that. I know we have brokers and investors on here, or brokers that work with investors. And looking from an investor standpoint, just that conversation with your clients, because they're always going to push the cost on the broker, obviously, anything that you can kind of push on that. But like you just said, I mean, this is something that the owner of the property can use to market to their investors to get their, get their funding for their money, like go to a lender, like, work for their partners, and then they can use for like potential tenants. So this is like a huge value for the owner / investor themselves. The broker, it's kind of like a one-off. It's fantastic for the sell of the property, or presenting to like other people who are buying it or development or whatever it is. But for the owner, yeah, this has more value than just that one piece. So it's a great conversation to have with your clients, or if you're looking at a property yourself. So
hey, Alex, let me just butt in real quick. You had mentioned that you wanted to do a giveaway. Is that something that you still want to do? We can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned the bourbon element. Oh, am I on mute?
No, you're not.
No. Okay. No, can you hear me, Joseph?
Yeah, we can hear you now. So let me do this. I'm going to put so Alex, tell us about your giveaway, and then I will put a link in the chat for people to put their name in, and then we will do a drawing real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, the always a winner is a bottle of bourbon, and we happen to be right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, so we're just north of bourbon country, and can get some great bottles. So we were going to raffle off a bottle of Eagle Rare bourbon. If everyone's familiar, it's one of my favorites for sure. So that was going to be the raffle here today.
Nice, that's awesome.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in there. So we actually dropped the ball. We didn't create a separate form for this, but we had one from yesterday. So just use the same one. It will say something like workshop attendance. So, but it's not workshop attendance. It's for raffle for Alex. So go ahead and enter your name and fill out that form, and we will do a raffle in a couple of minutes. One lucky winner is going to get a bottle of bourbon sent to their home. So.
As long as you don't give it away to someone that attended yesterday's workshop.
No, we have the date stamp. So we are not Google is pretty smart about putting a date stamp. So we will only get the people who are here. So click on that link. Please, everybody, don't bury my link in the chat. Everybody click on it. Take 30 seconds to fill out your information.
What link?
I haven't seen the link at all, Joseph. Just so
We haven't seen it.
I'm just sending it to Reggie. I don't know why I'm sending it to Reggie.
Yeah. That kind of
Reggie
makes it
wins.
unfair,
The
huh?
raffle's rigged.
Yeah, this is election rigging.
Oh boy.
But it's
While
like
you guys are-
when somebody messages you, I think Zoom does it, right? So it will say reply to certain person and not the whole room, right? So now everybody should have the link. 2 times.
I did already my part. I already registered.
So she registered the first time.
Obviously, because the message only went to you.
Love that.
All right, how much
Give a
time
quick
are we
plug
giving
here,
everybody? One
1
more
second.
minute, guys. 1 minute, everybody. If you're not here, you miss out. So enter your name, and Alex, we will send you the name of the folks as well, so you can send them more information as well.
Perfect.
Okay.
That
And
sounds great.
please, everybody, if you're done, just click on No, Giles, don't put your name in the chat. You have to click on the link and enter your name in that
No, that's
form.
fine. He can just put it in the chat. That's fine.
You're trying to increase your probability?
Let me give a quick plug for Alex's product. When in our group, in the exchange groups, there are many investors that have seen a property several times, for an example, as with many listings have been out there a lot of times and are dead. So you can use this as a tool, I would think, to go back to old listings that haven't sold or properties that haven't sold, even if there's somebody else's listing that have expired, and say, hey, I've got a vendor. I wouldn't give the information to the owner right away. I would say, hey, let me connect you in order to get the listing, but this is a tool I use to make your ugly property look better, right? Because there's a lot of stuff out in the marketplace that is stale, dated, or whatever, and it breathes new life into the process of an owner's eye and say, here's a tool that I can bring as a broker to get your listing to take to the marketplace that hasn't been seen before, right? Because it's new enough to where it's not out there for everybody. And it's much more advanced than a standard Matterport generic version, right? So I think that tool, and then you get them to sign your listing, and then they get them to pay for it. And this is a property tool that the broker can then present as an option that like Valerie said, the information goes with the property, goes with the owner. Not just, you're not holding the client hostage to use my tool and use my listing or you don't get it kind of thing. But I wouldn't go just give Alex's information away, because then he's going to go, the owner's going to go to Alex and not use you. And then he's going to go to another broker potentially, right? So that's just a way to re-engage older listings, I think, and or existing listings that are stale, that really need a facelift for a new marketing presence, because it's amazing wow factor. And people in our group have used it to raise many millions of dollars for projects, of which they could not do prior to doing this, as an example. So it's a great tool.
Brian, did they create your background? If so, I'm sold.
No. However, I need to talk
Alex already has some ideas on, okay, that's his next project. No, create money coming out of everywhere.
Well, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate the kind words and further explanation. Means a lot. So thank you very much.
Hey guys, I think Eric also posted in the chat earlier that, I think we have a lot of fans for you, Alex, here. So Eric, Ellen, Brian. Hey guys, last call. If you haven't entered your name, click on the link. The link is in the chat again one last time. And we're going to give you another 30 seconds to enter your name, and make sure you click submit. And then we're going to do our giveaway, and then we'll break for networking. All right. Okay. And Alex, so I think for me personally, it's also about getting listings, right? So to say that this is something that we can do for you, whether who pays for it is not relevant. If you can get the owner to pay for it, then more power to you. But even if you have to pay for it, you can use that for your marketing, right? Hey, this is what we did for this guy, and this is the results that we got, right? So it's a one-time investment to get that. Hey, this is what we can do for you as well, right? So it may be worth for your prospecting and marketing efforts.
Absolutely, yeah, and we're always happy, with groups that we work with. As Brian mentioned, some exchange groups, and now with with your group here with RI Music, we're always happy to talk about beta project discounts or association type discounts that we can provide. We're not here to do one project with every broker in America. We want to do every listing for a select brokerage team in America. So we're looking to always, what's best for the property, what's best for the broker. Let's form a long-term partnership, not a gouge you one time and get out. That's not our MO.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I'll connect with you, Alex, offline. And if you can offer our networking group here some kind of a discount or some special something, we will also send that out and to our group on a regular basis, so that they're aware of your company, and that they can come to you whenever they have a project that they can use your help.
Awesome, much appreciated. Thank you everyone for your time and the questions. Appreciate the opportunity to present.
All right, so we got everybody's names, so we're putting your name.
Thank you.
I'm going to share my screen, and then we will make sure that we can do the raffle. Oops, share. All right. Hopefully you guys can see my screen, and we will use our handy dandy thing. So this is from yesterday. These are all the names that was entered now. Your name and email. So hopefully nobody cheated by entering your name twice. So we will shuffle.
The real question is if Michaela entered her name in there, she's got the insider information.
I always do. I always enter.
And I forgot to enter my name. Okay, so if you don't answer, if I call your name and if you don't answer in 2 seconds, I'm going to claim it for myself. All right, okay, here we go. Who wants it? Who wants this? Who wants a bottle of bourbon? Let's hear it, guys.
I do.
Okay,
Everyone does.
only one person.
I
Who wants it the most should be screaming the loudest.
Best
All
drink
right.
in the world.
Let's play.
Old fashioned.
Sure.
My husband would be happy.
Here we go.
I'll take it.
Come on.
All right, who's the lucky
Happy
one?
days, Cunningham. Here we go.
Reggie.
Oh,
Oh, I got it.
Tom Cunningham. Tom, are you here?
Congratulations!
Are you here, Tom?
I'm here. I
Oh,
did.
he's here.
I said happy days, Cunningham.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Okay, Tom. Alex, I will connect you with Tom and send you his information. So you guys.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much again, everyone. And Tom, congrats on the bottle of bourbon. We'll get that out to you.
Aces, thank you.
Awesome.
I feel better after losing the card game last night.
Thank you so much, Alex. We got tons of positive feedback. We love it when we can bring in individuals that obviously create a ton of value in our companies for investors and brokers and stuff. So what you've created is a fantastic tool, and I'm excited to be able to connect with you more.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Valerie. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Thanks for coming,
Alex.
Michaela.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.